uh, I present to you Kevin Kowalski.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it. You know, it's hard to believe 1990. I mean, it's just, you guys will know this, and I'm sure you've experienced it already in your yet young lives. It goes fast. It really does go fast. And I know that I was commenting earlier that the gym behind Coach Pat there looks the same. I think that was maybe the second or third year of that facility when I got there. So it was really clean and it was new. And it's cool to see some of those things still the same. And obviously with Coach just hanging it up a couple of years ago, and just the tradition that has still carried on of winning and winning in the right way is impressive. So I am honored to be someone from the ancient history and honored to be here today with all of you guys who are the program today. So thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Look forward to having you share with us over this session. Next alumni we have Ryan Moss, 2001 grad, was in the engineering school here at WashU. Currently works with McCarthy Building Companies, one of the oldest private national construction companies in the world. And he was the project director on that East End expansion that we see over Coach Dux's shoulder there. Great job with that, Ryan. So I'm gonna welcome Ryan and throw it to Mark for some remarks on Ryan.
Well, Ryan came to us in 1997. Is that right, Ryan? I think it was.
Yep, you got it, Coach.
He was here 3 years. Actually, he wanted to be here in 1996, but he really wanted engineering. He was from Hillsborough, Missouri, and Hillsborough High School. And the math program at Hillsborough, I don't think he had calculus. And I fought that with the admissions people. They wouldn't budge. So he enrolled at Webster for 1 year, played basketball at Webster 1 year with the idea that he was going to transfer to WashU, and doggone, he followed through with it. And he came to WashU and played with us for 3 years. And while he was here, we won one UAA championship, and we went to the NCAA tournament. I think it was your junior or senior year. He knows what I'm going to say, right, Ryan?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to tell you Ryan's memory. One of them anyway, I'm sure, is that we get to the end of the NYU game at NYU in an important game with the opportunity to go to the NCAA tournament. We are down 3 points with 10 seconds to go. And we're going the length of the floor, and we had to have a three. So I put Ryan in, who had been sitting on the bench, and we attacked, came down the floor, hit Ryan on the wing, nothing but three. Put it into overtime, and we won the ball game. And, you know, the neat thing about it is that Ryan's nickname coming into Washington U was Shooter. And so that's all we've ever known him as, a shooter. And that one shot propelled us one more game into our history. And so, you know, that's the story I remember about Ryan the most. But Ryan, what do you have to tell these guys?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to join you guys tonight. Definitely pretty cool. We all know we're experiencing some unique times, but this is a good idea by you all to put this together. I jumped at the opportunity to do it. Yeah, it's interesting to see my basketball career and then my professional career run parallel, and then join and then cross intersection wise. And then Coach, you pointed out Kevin Dux, which you know, I've had the pleasure to meet, but his background is my career legacy of taking my college legacy and then my career legacy and combining them both. So that East End project was my baby for 4 years. Design, putting the plan together, and then the execution of it. And I'm still dealing with it today, if you will, with answering questions and figuring that out. We're putting the bow on McKelvey Hall as we speak. But really cool stuff. Glad to be able to join you guys tonight. Excited to have some good conversations.
Well, it is a striking, that expansion and your handiwork and your vision. It's striking. It's unbelievable what has come up. I remember the first time I was on campus in 18 and just seeing, seeming like 50 cranes and a lot of dirt and is now it's remarkable. It's really,
I appreciate that.
Our third and final of our panelists, we've got Dylan Richter. Dylan is our most recent grad, Olin Business School when he was here, graduated in 2012. I think Dylan was on one of my recruiting lists back at one of my previous schools. I don't think you answered many of my emails or calls back then, Dylan, but things seem to have worked out pretty well for you. He's spent the last 6 years with DoorDash in a variety of roles, and excited to hear you kind of that experience as well. So we've got Dylan Richter and Coach Edwards sharing a little bit about Dylan.
Well, Dylan came to us in 2008. He came right at the right time, right in the heyday when we were really rolling, and we had, we've always had good leadership, but we had exceptional leadership in those years. And so his freshman year was our, were you in 2008 or 9?
The second.
Yep. Yeah, 2009. Anyway, his first year was our second national championship. And he was a contributing member of the team, and he'd play. And he had the misfortune of the very first game of the NCAA tournament of breaking his foot, if I remember. And I'm sure he does. And he had to sit on the bench for the rest of the national championship. But he got to go out and cut down the net. And he carried that over into the rest of his 3 more years at Washington U. He won 3 UAA championships, won 78% of the games that he played in, won 1 national championship. He was named All UAA twice and Player of the Year in the UAA his senior year. And, he's also has a distinction of being, I think, the very first Caucasian that was drafted by the Harlem Globetrotters. Anyway, he can probably elaborate a little more on that. But anyway, Dylan's another one of our legends.
Thank you, Coach. Yeah, I'll tell that story really quick. But before I do, it's awesome to be here, to meet y'all. I'm sure Kevin and Ryan would agree with this. It's been 10, almost 10 years since my senior year, but I remember hanging out with the fellas, like meeting alumni in the locker room, all that stuff like it was yesterday. So it is awesome to be here. Really quickly on the Harlem Globetrotters note, I interned with them my senior year, and I knew I was going to take a full-time job with them. And as a welcome to the Globetrotters, they included me in their kind of PR stunt draft that they do every year. So I had to go talk to the Riverfront Times and all these St. Louis publications, pretending that I was going to actually try out and play on the team when I was just going to go to work for them. So it's like my fun fact about you. Excited to talk with all y'all today, and thanks for having me.
Awesome, thank you guys. And so my role in this, I guess I'll sort of moderate a little bit. I'm going to start with a kind of a general question, but I know a lot of our guys, a lot of our players here have a variety of different questions. And so when they ask a question, they're going to introduce themselves the first time and just so you get to know a little bit about name and their background and what their major here is at WashU. But we have, it's been a tough year, no doubt, in a lot of ways, but really proud, of the gentlemen in our program. They're killing it in the classroom. We've had 3.7 GPAs the last 2 semesters. They're just doing, they're getting the job done, and we're still getting better on the basketball court as well. So really proud of our guys for hanging in there and the discipline they're showing, and they're continuing to represent this program in the way that consistent with the values and standards that you guys were here as well. My question to start, just to our alumni, what are some of the factors that, if you reflect to this point in your careers, that have positively impacted your trajectory? What would you attribute? What has been some of those factors that have led you to rise up in the positions that you're in, and to allow you to have the professional and personal successes that you've had?
I can
Well,
jump
I
in.
guess.
Oh, go ahead,
Go
Kevin.
ahead.
Kevin, you start. No,
I was
you
just gonna-
you start here.
Appreciate it. Yeah, give the old guy a chance. I would say, Coach, that I would venture to guess that everyone on this call probably hasn't faced a ton of adversity in their life. Again, if you have, I apologize, but you guys are all smart guys. You guys are all leaders. You're athletes. It's probably been a pretty decent life for you to this point. WashU presented unbelievable challenges for me. I mean, I came out, thought I had everything I ever needed from a family perspective and athletic perspective, but WashU was a real challenge. And for me, that was what I needed, right? I kind of needed that kick in the butt where, hey, listen, you're no longer the best guy on the team. Hell, you're no longer even the best 3 or 4 on the team. You're certainly not the best student in the classroom. There's always somebody better. So to me, that was at the age of 18, 19, and sticking around through the whole 4 years. That was it. I mean, I learned quickly that little comfort zone that I had back home was a whole big bad world out there. And aside from just matriculating at WashU, which is difficult, being in a program like Coach's was incredibly difficult, very competitive, and it was everything I needed, I think, to send me off into the world of business and life and being a father and a husband and those things. Yeah.
Ryan, you're up.
Well, I'll jump in there. Kevin, that was well said. I would agree with all that. I'd put to come over top and to add on to that, the factors, and it's interesting to reflect. Side note, as a 2001 grad, I literally told my wife today and a friend yesterday, I was like, I have my 20-year class reunion coming up, and I don't know how that happened. But when I look back at what my basketball career did for my professional career, and it's still the buzzword today, is leadership. You need to be a better leader. You need to advance your leadership skills. There's literally no better leadership training than playing on a collegiate sport or just a team sport, period. And then going through the WashU, what I'll call the WashU leadership training. And I look back at the decisions I make today, how I lead departments, how I lead teams, how I just lead direct reports, just all of that, the influence from that is either direct or a second-tier direct impact from my career at WashU and being on the basketball team. And I look at it when I'm interviewing folks, when we're looking at skill sets, whether it's a new graduate where somebody's had a 10, 20-year career, and then as soon as I see a team sport that they play, especially collegiate, I jump at it because I know that they've got the training that you can't find anywhere else. And I'm gonna steal from Coach Edwards because it's his, not mine. Is that what sports does? Is to provide an environment that provides a stress and chaos that you have to overcome without even knowing it. And then that sets you up for the rest of your life, whether it's a professional career, whether it's to be a really good father. So that's how I would put it.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about the, drawing parallels to playing on a team, leadership, all those things. The teamwork aspects are two things I've been thinking about recently, and as I was getting ready for the call. I didn't quite realize it at the time how much of participating on a team and playing on a team is translatable to what I do on a daily basis. Similar to what Kevin was talking about, I have no hard skills. I'm like, it's kind of funny. I was talking to someone about it today. I chose business school and I chose marketing because it was the most abstract thing I could work on that didn't require a lot of math and science. I hate math and science. I'm not good at them. I don't have many like super tangible, Dylan can go do this. He can run this model. He can do that. But the superpower we talk at at DoorDash a lot about what folks' superpowers are. It's bringing people together. And a lot of that is learned whether you know it or not when you're participating on a team. You show up on day one and you don't know anyone else, none of the other teammates. Like maybe you did an overnight and you got to meet a few guys, you went out to a party, awesome. But you like don't actually know anyone, nor do you know the other freshmen that are coming in with you. And to be successful, you have to very quickly understand them. They're coming from different backgrounds. They care about different things. They have different interests. Like obviously you share this common thread of basketball, but you have to very quickly get to know other people, what makes them tick and what they care about. And if you could do that well, then you will be successful on the court. The chemistry translates. The same exact thing happens in work. So that was one thing I think I found just applying naturally that team mentality to the job was something that translated to success. And then one other thing I wanted to call out. So I joined, I worked for the Globetrotters for a few years, like super well-established company, and then went over to DoorDash, to a startup, which at the time was like 25, 30 people. And we didn't know what the hell we were doing, nor did I know like what it actually meant to join a startup. But one of the things that was really important, especially in the early days of a company, is being adaptable to change. So I think you guys are all learning a very valuable lesson, unfortunate, but very valuable lesson where you're adapting to some circumstances that no one could have prepared for, planned for, expected. And the ability to maneuver that and figure out, like, take stock of this is the world now and this is what I got to do and here's how I'm going to make the best of it. That is extremely valuable no matter what profession, industry, et cetera, you're in. So those are two things I'd throw out there.
We have really intelligent, inquisitive guys in the team, so who always have better ideas than the coach. So I'm going to open it up to guys, you guys to ask questions, whether it be specific. You got a little bit of background on Kevin and Dylan and Ryan in terms of their specific careers, or maybe more generalized. So depending if you want to direct it to an individual, and Coach Edwards, and obviously you guys all know Coach. He's as wise as they come. So and he's an alum as well. So I'm going to open it up to you guys for questions, curiosities you have with the alums.
Who's going to do it? Looks like David's going to do it.
This is kind of a specific question for you, Dylan. First of all, hi, I'm David Winley. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm also an Olin guy, accounting and finance. So, the two of us might not get along as well. I'm more of the math guy and you're more of the abstract guy. But I have to say I'm pretty interested in the Harlem Globetrotters thing, and kind of just how did you come across that opportunity? And then also with it being kind of unique in terms of kind of that hybrid of it's kind of sports, it's kind of just like general entertainment, kind of what was that experience like? And can you kind of compare that to, other entertainment companies and maybe a sports team or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it was a very interesting experience, and let's see. I'm trying to remember exactly how I got that internship. I think I remember looking for summer internships between junior and senior year. I'll also say I had no idea during school what I wanted to do. Zero clue. My plan was to go play basketball, do well, and go over to Europe. Like, I don't have illusions of grandeur. I knew I wasn't going to the NBA or anything like that. But I could have gone to some like low-level European place and played for a few years and had some fun. So that was the plan freshman, sophomore year. Didn't really take school seriously. And then broke a few bones. I met my now wife in college, so I couldn't just leave. Junior year, I took a class. I think it was like the first non-elective marketing class you could take. I thought it was kind of interesting. Staying in sports, once I realized I'm not going to like go be a pro athlete anywhere, staying in sports was a nice transition into the real world, and found a digital marketing internship online on some job board. And it's kind of funny. Like, the Globetrotters are a 100-year-old organization run by people who are almost 100 years old. And they needed someone to tell them, like, what do you do with the Facebook, right? Like, that's actually how they would talk about it. It was basically a social media internship. So, so that's what got me into it. And it was a really good introduction to the real world. It was it's kind of funny. Every few years, I will look back on what I thought I knew in retrospect and realize I knew nothing. And I think that probably happens every 5 years. You think you know everything, and you realize how much you don't know as you keep getting older. But it was a great like first step into the real world. I would say the sports industry in general is extremely like competitive. So if you want to be in sports, that's awesome, and go pursue it. But just be ready to grind. And there's a lot of competition, and you'll have to like, I don't know. I also remember in college, everyone getting finance and consulting jobs, getting paid a ton. And I was going to go make like $25,000 with the Globetrotters, and like thinking about that consciously, like, shit, like I just had my parents pay for a really expensive education. I'm going to go do this. Do it. It's totally fine. Like, if your circumstances, if you're okay with that, then do it. The first step you make, don't place too much emphasis on it, because who knows where it will lead you. I had zero interest in school or growing up thinking about food and food logistics, but I'm having 10 times more fun working at DoorDash than I did at the Globetrotters. Yeah, the advice I give on that part is, if you're into the sports industry, entertainment industry, go pursue it. Just find somewhere to start. It really does not matter where you start. Find somewhere, and then work hard, and you can, move to different companies, grow within the company if you do bust your ass. But if you don't know what you want to do, like that is perfectly okay too. And you may find out in a few years there's some other opportunity or something you're interested in, and you can pivot, adjust course, and you'll be just fine.
Awesome, Dylan. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll kind of follow up on that. First, I'm Justin. I'm from St. Charles, Illinois. I play 3 of the 4. Shout out Kevin. A little bit in between. I'm a junior this year, and I'm also studying finance in the business school with David. So I think kind of the first part for a lot of us, right? We got a lot of young guys on this call, not a ton of upperclassmen this year. And, a lot of them are still trying to figure out, one, what they want to do. So really appreciate you touching on that, Dylan. But after that point, like, how do you guys recommend kind of like, getting to know like the different jobs within an area that you're interested in? And then from B, like, where do we start? Where do we start with networking, and how do we begin to really learn about the industries that we're passionate about? And, anyone can take this. Ryan, I know you kind of were a double major, so you kind of had some different things that you were looking at. So I'm sure you had a wide breadth. So I don't know if you want to start us off here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good question when it comes to networking, finding folks in your industry or industries that you're interested in. My advice would be a lot, which is explore different avenues. Now, first step would be take advantage of what the university has from the career services. There's networking events that they can key you with. I'm part of the engineering mentorship program. So I can only speak on the behalf of the engineering mentorship. I don't know what the rest of the schools do today, but I got to believe they're very similar to what the engineering school is doing, which is pairing students with mentors, and that's an amazing program. That's an amazing first step. Um, I wish if it was available when I was a student, man, I wasn't paying a lick of attendance or attention, that's for sure. But I don't think it was available, and I wish it was, just to be able to ask the question you guys are asking tonight, and just to have more of a one-on-one and comfort level with asking those questions of like, hey, is this really important? What are companies looking for? Should I really care about my GPA? And is my first job really important? I'll pile on to what Dylan touched on, which is really good. Like when I was, graduating, and friends you have, you listen to starting salaries, and it's such a misnomer to even pay attention to what your starting salary is and what other people's starting salary is. It's not a fair comparison, nor is it, more importantly, nor is it giving you an idea where your career is headed. Find something you're interested in or semi-interested in, take it, learn from it, and then use that as a building block for the next step. So to directly answer your question, yes, I take advantage of what the school has. Looking beyond that and doing what you're doing tonight is meeting folks like myself, Dylan, and Kevin, and using us as contacts. I may not personally know, but I know a ton of people that might be able to connect you and everybody else in your industry or your areas of expertise, and that's networking at its purest 101. I'll let anybody else jump on from there.
Yeah, Ryan, you teed it up incredibly well. Justin, intuitive question, great question. It starts tonight, honestly. Thanks to Coach Edwards. I mean, Coach, we would have those pizza parties after the game with alumni. And you're 18, you're 19, you're like, man, I got to get back. I got to go study. I'm going to go throw down some pie. You weren't thinking about what it meant to take 10 minutes to have a conversation with someone that was in the program, 3 or 4 years ago, much less 30 years ago, like myself. But honestly, it starts tonight. And Justin, regardless of what you want to do as a finance major, I would say talk to as many folks, whether it's Brian, Dylan, myself, other players, and get a broad perspective of what it means to talk to somebody that represents a company, right? Because every company is gonna require finance, it's gonna require engineers. It's really the culture of the company that I think all of you should be looking at, because that's where you create an environment much like you have in Coach's program, where you feel comfortable, you feel challenged, and you feel part of something. To go chase a salary, to go chase a location, at 22, 23, those things might seem important, but I guarantee you, if you go chase a culture first, you're gonna set yourself up for success. So it starts tonight, and I'm sure Coach will share my contact as well as Ryan and Dylan's. I'll take a call from any of you guys anytime.
Can I just add
Thanks,
one
guys.
thing? One thing really quick to that. So I subscribe to what Kevin and Ryan said 1,000%. The only thing I will add, I hate networking. And because the concept of networking I had was go to the career fair and walk up to the recruiter and have the most awkward conversation of all time. And you don't know when it stops. And you stand there and your armpits start sweating. I hate that shit. So the only other thing I'll throw out, so I was a psych minor at Wash U. I got a C, so I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert in it. Everybody's favorite subject is themselves. So if you ask and reach out to anybody, whether you have a connection with them or not, they will be happy to talk to you and tell you about their experience and what they do and what they talk about. So don't underestimate that.
All right, I got another question. What's up, guys? I'm Charlie. I'm a junior, also studying finance. Part of the trio there is doing that. I'm from Minneapolis. I'm from up north, so I think I'm the only one from that far north on the team. and I have a question for Dylan first. I got a couple of questions. The first one's for Dylan. Let me just start this off by saying I'm a loyal Dasher myself. Dashed all summer. It was my only stream of income, so shout out to you guys.
Appreciate you
for that. Yeah, big time. But I just have a question about the IPO because that was pretty cool. Something that a lot of us were following this fall, and you've been with the company for a long time. Initially from its startup phase. Now, obviously, they are public, so I wanted to know what that was like as a huge milestone, and as a big piece of that company, like what that period was like for you.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. Kevin was talking a lot about culture at a company, and I could not agree with that more. That culture is the most important thing. So I've been at DoorDash for 6 years. I didn't even know like what startups were in venture capital and any of that when I applied to join. So very fortunate in retrospect that that was the company that worked out and had been there for a while. But the like mantra at the company is we're very focused not on what's happening externally with competition with other people, but like what we need to achieve and execute, and we execute well. And sure, like we're aware of what's happening externally, but we're laser focused on what our plan is and learning quickly and changing what we need to change based on what's happening in the world. So COVID is a great example of something that scrapped all the plans we had, all the operating, the roadmap for product and engineering, and like, let's rebuild it based on what we just learned happened. So the IPO was, it was a long time, probably a year and a half of like documenting all the stuff that we should have done well before. We got to have contracts for every restaurant. We got to be able to reconcile all the money. A lot of stuff that like is a good problem to have, but it was a lot of boring administrative stuff. So most of my time was spent trying to make sure that the team is focused on continuing to execute the stuff that needs to happen. Let's block out the noise, and let's make sure we have all of our T's crossed and I's dotted. And then the actual IPO day was very exciting. I did some programming around it. It was cool to see the buzz. But honestly, the following day, if you didn't know that DoorDash just IPO'd, you would have no idea. The way that our weekly meetings and like objective and key results, OKR reviews of the goals we set, basically, they're just, right back in it, all the way to the top, the CEO, COO, the entire company. So it was a milestone. They view it as just another step in what DoorDash is going to go build and do. And I appreciate the fact that like super exciting. Some companies would, go throw a massive party. It's not like we could if we wanted to, given COVID, but it was snapped right back into, all right, like how are we going to get 1% better tomorrow? What's the plan to hit, close the gap on some goal that we're behind? So yeah, very cool, very exciting, but, just meant that we have a lot now to go live up to and surpass, and more work to go do.
Charlie, you mentioned you had a couple questions. Do you have a follow-up or a tangential question or?
Yeah. So I had just a larger question. It's more so relating to basketball. This is for everybody, but we do have a couple older guys on the call, including Jack and Peyton, and myself and Hardy and Cam and Dave. We're all getting up there, which is kind of sad. But I was just wondering what your guys' transition away from basketball was like after college, because that's coming up even for the young kids, it's only a couple years away. And, I speak for myself, but I think everybody else, when it's, we've been playing basketball like our whole lives. And that's kind of a scary thought. It's a daunting thought to think we're gonna have to walk away at some point and like never pick it up again and compete like that. So I'm just wondering, like, have there been things that you do like in place to compete, or was that transition hard? Was it easy? Like, if you could just walk us through maybe things that helped you, or what your experience was like, that'd be great.
Charlie, you aren't the only Minnesotan on here. I did spend 17 years in Excelsior. Kids went to Minnetonka, got down to Texas about 2 years ago. So I couldn't be happier. And I know you know what I mean by that. My transition was I quickly ballooned to about 245. Didn't pick up a ball for 2 years. I was in grad school and working 3 jobs just to be able to feed myself. But I'll tell you what, when I did get back, ruptured the Achilles right away just because, you know, he takes some time off. But played consistently since then, honestly. Played a little bit this morning. I don't think if you have that passion, whether it's hoops, whether it's tennis or whatever, I think you stick with it. You find a way, as long as you're healthy, you find a way to do it. The competition piece for me was the job, right? I went into sales, and it's a very natural progression for any athlete. And that's who I hire. That's who my whole team is. It's all athletes. So that was really easy. And thanks to, you know, my experience with coach and people like Kevin Suter and John Bergman and others, you know, you learn to compete for playing time. You learn to compete for coach's adulation, all those things. And that never goes away. It doesn't. Whether you're in finance or engineering, designing WashU's next building, that piece that's the DNA your parents gave you. And I guarantee you, Charlie, it's not going to go away. But I would urge all of you guys, don't put the ball down. Keep playing, because it's the best sport that was ever created in my mind.
So I'll add on to that. First off, Charlie, good question. Like, I never would have thought to even ask that, but looking back, a couple things. One, I still remember my last game, sitting in the locker room holding my jersey, because I knew it was the last time that I was going to be playing ball, and it really mattered. I literally sat there, tears in my eyes, thinking, I'm rec gym basketball from here on out, and that makes me really sad. And I knew it. My post that, now I was in school 5 years, so I was in school a year after my basketball career was done. I know I played more basketball that year and a couple years afterwards, just because it was like, especially after I started working, because I had more free time than I did when I was in school. So I was picking up the ball a lot. And then, you know, life just starts to happen. Kevin, I unfortunately, and I hope nobody on this phone has to compete with Kevin and I, but I've torn my Achilles twice, meaning that I've tore both of my Achilles. And let me tell you, I tore my first one, which was my right foot, literally when I was 30. I was playing, you know, rec gym ball, still trying to be the hero. Side note, a couple of WashU alum on the team here in St. Louis. We were going strong. It snapped, didn't know what really happened. I was married, no kids. I called my wife. She thought I was kidding. And anybody knows me knows I'm a huge smart ass. So she didn't believe me. And I had to convince her, I'm going to the emergency room. I tore my Achilles, pretty sure of it. So that, and then literally 2 years later, I rehab, was like, I'm getting back on the court. Here I am at 32, literally the same league, the same team. I'm back, I'm playing ball, snap the other one. And again, a lot of my stories have me crying, and I don't have any, you know, qualms about admitting that, but I was tears in my eyes, like, oh, is it painful? And I was like, no, my career is literally done. I could never play basketball again. Like, God is telling me, your body is too old, you're done. And I called my wife. Now at this point, we'd had our first, and she was 18 months old. And it was a lot worse trying to rehab the second time, because now I knew, you know, what it was going to take, and it's a long road back. But you know, I would tell you what has filled the gap, you know, competitiveness, and I would just echo what Kevin said, is you take that into your career and you find the competitiveness of whether you're in sales or any other aspect of wanting to be the best, build the best team, be the best boss, be the best dad. And from a sports standpoint, when I tore that second Achilles, I knew it was time to take up a different sport. And so I've been all in on golf. So I've yet to pull or tear any muscles in that sport, but give me a couple of years and I'm sure I'll accomplish that.
I was gonna say my wife played golf at WashU, so I very quickly made the transition to golf. I would recommend that too. I tried to do the rec leagues for like 2 or 3 years after after school with guys from WashU. But when you don't practice anymore and you lose, you know, a little bit of the step, some of the skill, you start dribbling off your foot and it goes out of bounds. Everyone knows you played in college too, so they're ready for you to go kill. And you're playing with dudes who played in high school who like still are super competitive about it. I just didn't have that energy to deal with that. So I actually haven't touched a basketball in like a year and a half, 2 years. But golf is a lot of fun. So if you want a different route, then that can be successful as well.
You know, if I could jump in and just make a comment about that, because I've watched hundreds of kids go through this transition that you're talking about, including myself. And the whole key is live in the moment that you're in. Carry your passion forward. Don't try to relive your college days or your high school days or anything else that you've encountered, but use it to build a future. And that's what each of these guys have done. You know, everybody's future is going to go a different direction. And basketball has played a part in it. It can continue to play a part in it, but don't make it the necessity of your life. Succeed with what you've learned and live in the moment.
That's great.
Yeah, thanks a ton, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, Charlie, did you ever play with Paige Bukers?
No, I didn't play with her, but she's a legend. She's a Minnesota legend. She's killing now. She's gonna be, I should be good in the league too. Did you? Oh yeah, because you're from. So, did you leave before? Yeah, explain that.
So when she was in 8th grade, she was a starting point guard at Hopkins. They played my daughter's high school. My girls didn't play basketball, but they played my daughter's high school in the state championship. Tonka won, but you saw her and you're just like, this girl's ridiculous. And the rest is history. Let's hope she can keep at it. I mean, she's been heralded since like the 5th grade.
Yeah, she's special. She's special for sure.
It's the point guard for UConn. If you guys aren't watching women's hoops.
Can I flip this really quick and ask a question to you guys? So one of the things, I sit on Zoom meetings all day, every day. It's like all I do with a whole bunch of people. One of the challenges we have is we have a lot of new folks joining our company and team, and it's really difficult remotely to bring them together, to build chemistry, to get them to know each other. Once all this stuff went down, you guys realized you weren't going to have the season. What kinds of stuff did you implement and start doing to keep that cohesion and, you know, get through it? I'm super curious.
All right, so over the summer we do a lot of Zoom meetings and stuff. I'm Jack, by the way, senior, soon to be, you know, no longer. But then once we all got to school, you know, a bunch of us live together, so we do a lot of hanging out and, you know, obviously abide by all the COVID protocols that WashU set. But just honestly, we've just spent a lot of time together, just off the court, and we're all pretty good friends. So it's been like, I don't know, we've been able to spend a lot of time together, which has been good.
I can give you the full story later when coach isn't here, but yeah, get the picture there.
How about the freshmen? How have you found this year?
Jabari, I'm a freshman from Chicago, Illinois. I mean, it's already, you expect a major transition coming from high school to college, athletics, and just like academically, socially anyways. And then doing it all in a pandemic is obviously more difficult. But, you know, just being able to hang out with the guys, honestly, has made it much, much easier of a transition. Being able to be in the gym when we can in whatever capacity we've been able to has also been therapeutic, to say the least. So it's challenging, but, you know, being with the team makes it easier.
It's a great question that Dylan posed, and I think this is a great example of how special and how fortunate you guys all are, because there's so many of your fellow students who don't have this camaraderie, and they went through it in their own certain way. So this should make the team stronger, in my opinion, hopefully. And I think everybody's leadership skills should probably elevate through this. No one wanted this to happen, but you guys will all have great stories to tell because of it. It's a great question, Joan.
Hey guys, I am Spencer Bame, sophomore on the team, also from Chicago. And this question is kind of similar to Charlie's, but when you guys first graduated, kind of entered the workforce, what was the most like surprising thing or the most challenging thing that you had to deal with?
Other than paying rent or the mortgage? You know what? It probably was being hit with so many different facets of the business world, right? I mean, you guys all have your majors and you're going to do your internships. But when you think about the sales, the HR perspective of a job, unless you guys are in the human resources majors programs, and especially in today's world of diversity and inclusion, it is a huge part of your professional career. And then you translate over into the operations piece of a business. There's a lot of things that you get thrown early on, and you guys are all intelligent people, so you're going to be able to digest it. But it's just things you're not used to, and my brother, as Coach even referenced earlier, always told me, if you don't take a business class, you're going to hurt yourself. And I took a few, but not many, and that's so true, because that will translate into everything. So understand just the principles of a business, all facets of it, and because you're intelligent, just go talk to people. Right? Just go get a feel for what it's like to be the HR VP of a big corporation, or wherever you end up. It could be small. It's a big eye opener.
I'll add on to that question of what I remember being or being not necessarily surprised by, but entering the work world, if you will, was, I guess, actually more pleasantly surprised was that the first couple of years of saying, wow, this is pretty easy compared to going to WashU, trying to get 2 degrees and traveling playing basketball. And it was nice to be so prepared coming out in the work world. It actually, to me, felt like a breath of fresh air. I get to do something that I enjoy, that I have a passion for, and I get to build upon. So the point being that what you're going through now, and no matter what degree or degrees that you're going after, what RSU is going to put you through is going to set you up from day one for success, and no matter what path you're going to pick.
So I got one that maybe it's similar to what Ryan was just saying in terms of like, this is easier than I thought it would be. Maybe a little controversial, but before I get there, Spencer, you have 2 older twin brothers. Is that right?
I do, yes.
All right. We're the same year. I battled them back in the day. I remember that very vividly.
Awesome.
So I'll hit you up after that. This funny connection. Anyways, so it's probably indicative of specifically like my experience going to the Globetrotters, which is a consumer-facing company, and it's not like one of those big consulting or finance or accounting firm that like half of WashU goes to. So the realization I had, which sounds bad to say out loud, is that like most of the world is not as bright as the people that will have been around for the past 4 years. Like the average person in the world is like not that intelligent, and quite a few, rungs below you. And the people at your company that you're going to go to, depending where it is, there may be people in like senior level jobs that lack common sense, that are like, how is this person there? Like I would crush this person. Kind of similar concept when you go on the playground and you're not expected to go hoop with everybody, and then you show them up. It's like a very similar concept where it's an even playing field, but you will just have been in a bubble for a very long time at WashU, and you'll get out there and use this as fuel, not as, I'm not trying to like say bad things about the world in general, people at large when I say this. Don't get discouraged when you see your boss is like not that smart. Like maybe they are, but maybe they're a few years out of school and they have no idea what they're doing. So like they're new to this, they haven't managed people, they're learning as well. Just let that fuel you to bust your ass and like prove people wrong and keep climbing and keep doing better. It was one of the weird, and again, I hope that is not, I'm probably not saying this as eloquently as I should, and I'm not meaning to talk down on the rest of the world, but like just know you're coming out of a bubble from WashU. And it will be helpful to understand that like the way you position things, talk about things, pitch ideas, whatever, know your audience. Because they may not have the same background and they may not have the same thinking, training, experience that you just had.
If I could just add on a little bit to that, Dylan stated so eloquently. So I'm 53. The president of my company, and it's a pretty well-known, world-renowned company, is 46. My boss is 43. My divisional president is 41. So that should give you an indication that as good as you think you are and as smart as you think you are, you're going to go into a career where you're going to push people because of that, and you'll probably climb the ladder. But soon there will be people behind you, much like when you're an athlete, right? You get people that get brought into the program because of what coach has carried on here, and they're going to push you. And same thing's going to happen in the workforce. You're going to come in, you're going to be the bright, young phenom from WashU, whether you played basketball or not, just because of where you went. You're going to push people. You'll probably climb over some folks, but it'll all come back. And that's what makes, I spoke earlier about the culture piece. That's what's going to make your career that much more enjoyable, because you want to be in a position like that where everybody's challenging each other, regardless of what their tenure is. But Dylan's right. You're gonna find that you've been surrounded by brilliant minds. I mean, I think back to Paul Jackson, coach, who was quiet but smarter than hell. Engineering mind, quiet, could shoot, the lefty, but was really quiet and just insanely smart. And I know you guys know people like that. So be ready for it. You will have to elevate people, just like you do on the court. You're going to have to bring up people around you in your careers.
Side note, that Paul Jackson that Kevin just referenced will be part of our panel in 2 Sundays from now. So we'll get to test drive.
And he's still
Awesome.
very smart.
Yes.
He designs missiles.
I've got a, I just want to, before we respectful of time of everybody on this call, but I did want to at least have one sort of basketball focused or question that we could draw from, and that is, as Coach Edwards mentioned, each one of you guys, Kevin and Dylan and Ryan, were part of UAA championship teams, very successful teams in each kind of different eras. As you think back to those teams and what made them, allowed them to be as successful and achieve that, what would you cite? What were those characteristics? Can you cite an example of the leadership on those teams that allowed you to achieve that type of success? And maybe something that our team can benefit to hear from and maybe apply in our next journey.
Well, I'll jump on there and start. And Coach, you're right. I mean, obviously we're all three of us are coming from, including Coach, all four of us coming from different eras, which is pretty neat to think about the progression. So my era, and I joke with people even today, and I've been saying it for 20 years now, is that when I was going to school, it's when the women had their national championship run. And so I said that I tried out for the women's team and got cut, so I played for the men's team. And so that's my era. And so I had the pleasure of being a team that we got our UA championship, right? And those felt really good. And when I look back at what made our team successful and when it started clicking and when we started hitting all cylinders is when, at the end of the day, everybody can shoot the ball. At the end of the day, everybody cannot be a leader at the exact same time. And it's when folks understand what your role is on the team, believe in that role, and more importantly, trust in that role, trust in your teammates that they're going to do their role. And if you just take that as simple as it is, that's what I try to do every day with teams and departments. Know your role, do your role, and trust your role, and trust everybody else is going to do their role. And when that happens, the company will be very successful. And it's interesting, those words came out of my mouth literally last week, I swear to you all. And I look back at my career, what made that team successful is when we believed in that and executed it for us. And I'll let Kevin or Dylan jump in from there.
Not every career has a happy ending, right? When I think back to my 4 years, your senior year should be your best year, right? It should be where everything came together. You have your most wins. But as Coach may or may not remember, it's the only year that I personally wasn't part of a team that went to an NCAA tournament. And I think, as I look back, and you guys will all do this throughout time, you look back at what you would have, could have, should have done differently. The accountability piece in the first 3 years of my career was amazing. It started with Kevin Suter and people like John Bergman, and they just made you accountable for every practice, every road trip. I mean, we were traveling, the crazy UAA schedule with the difficult coursework, and they just made you accountable. That slipped my senior year. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit it. We probably were distracted, which is why we didn't make the tournament that year. So it's the accountability piece. I think that's it. There's leaders on the team that just make you accountable, and it starts with your coach. There's no doubt about it, and all the coaches that are on this call and the time and effort that they put into it. But the reality is, and this is indicative of my own career right now, my locker room is only as good as the leaders that I have in it. As the boss, I have to rely on my locker room leaders. And that could be every one of you guys. So don't let it slip. Don't let your senior year be the worst of the four from a wins and losses perspective, that is. Just make everybody accountable.
So the note about, or the comment about your locker room is actually what I was thinking as well. So I'll say one thing helps. Coach Edwards, I think we had like 3 or 4 All-Americans on that team my freshman year. So it helps to have a bunch of really freaking good people with basketball. But the leadership and chemistry, and specifically the seniors or the upperclassmen on that team, it was the leadership where they all can't be the alpha male top dog, right? So there's going to be one person who grabs the team and says, this is what we're going to do. But all the other ones recognize that while they may not be that vocal leader, that leadership, or that leader that points the team in the direction of what's going to happen, they all can lead by example, and they all did lead by example. So when I see Cam Smith busting his ass, diving for loose balls and preseason scrimmages, I'm going to go do that, and I want to be like him when I grow up. It's going to be that type of mentality. So I think they did a really good job leading by example, and they also understood that for them to be successful, it's not just me. It's not just how many shots I get up. It's how many shots the sixth, seventh, eighth man gets up. And I got to bring them along with me. And I got to get them to believe and buy in. It's not always easy. It's like you don't want to be the person on the bench, but the person on the bench is just as important as the person playing, because it's the person on the bench who's going to get the person playing in top shape, who's going to push them in practice to get better. And then when someone gets hurt and breaks their foot, like, the next person is up and ready to go. So I think they all really understood the fact that your starting five are great and like they got to be good, but the next five, that's what's going to make or break it most of the time. Because if you got the depth, then you're going to be much more dangerous than the team that's got like 4 or 5 stars and nothing else.
You know, if I could add to that a second, I think the big thing is there's a value in what you're doing. Winning the conference championship was a goal. It had a big value to us. Sundays in the UAA, like tonight, always meant something because it wrapped up a week and began a new week. And when you came in as a freshman, you didn't know what that value was. And like they said, he saw Cam Smith dive on the floor for a loose ball in a practice game. He started to learn what that value was. And by the time he became a senior, that value was a trait. That's what he carried with him. And that's what he passed on to the freshmen. You know, ever since the UAA teams started, every player that's gone through the program has been on at least one UAA championship. There's a value in it. There's a value in it. And, you know, you wear it like a badge, you wear it with pride, you compete with pride, and then you get the rewards after you graduate. So, you know, it is important. Each milestone you accomplish is important. And that's what these guys are carrying forward. That's why I'm so proud of them. I mean, they're carrying that same passion and that same attitude and that same value into their work life and their family lives. And that's the lesson here on this screen.
I'll make sure, guys, my current players, that I will share the contact information. It seems like Dylan and Kevin and Ryan, you guys would be okay with us sharing
Absolutely.
that information, and because I have a sense that I'm sure there's some follow-up questions or maybe some specific ones, industry specific, or maybe something you heard tonight spurred. You know, I texted one of our guys on this call. You know, I didn't know, Ryan, that you were part of the engineering mentorship program, and I think there's at least 3 engineers on this call right here that probably could have some value in that mentorship. So I'm going to make sure that they get a hold of you.
Excellent.
But I'd like just to throw it back to each one of you guys one time, and just to kind of final words, you know, whether it be a piece of advice or just kind of wherever you want to take it. Really appreciate the time tonight. I've got a page full of notes myself. So I know the guys, we found a lot of value in tonight, and thank you guys for being part of it. Just if you want to, just kind of whatever you want to share with our guys as kind of a closing thought. And I'm going to start with, we're going to go in reverse chronological order. So I'm going to start with Dylan.
Yeah. So first off, I really appreciate it. I think this is a fantastic idea. So I kind of want to call in and just listen into the future ones you guys do. Happy to talk to anybody about anything if it's related to anything I said, what I do or not. I think one thing that I remember quite well is this feeling, especially senior year, where I need to know what I'm doing now. I need to know the answers to everything. I'm like expected to go get a job and enter the real world and have the answers. But later on, I realized that I don't, and I actually don't know a lot of stuff. And it is okay to not know a lot of stuff. there was my big takeaway from the Globetrotters days was a quote my boss there mentioned to me, which I live by. You don't need to know how to get everything done, you don't need to know how to do everything. You just need to know how to get it done. There are many, many things I don't know how to do. There are many things going forward I will not know how to do. But I'll surround myself with people that can help me get them done, or I will find people and ask them, and they're more than often willing to help. So it is okay not to know the answers. It's okay not to like have an idea of what your next 5 years, 3 years, 1 year is going to look like. It's okay for it to pivot a million directions. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is last week I moved to Hillsborough, Illinois to live closer to my wife's family because they have some medical stuff happening. So I'm about 4 hours away from Chicago right now. And I was driving back to Chicago and I had 4 hours my parents lived there. I was driving back to pick up some stuff. A lot of time to do nothing with. And I called Jake Seymour. Jake Seymour was my freshman class. And one of my best friends still is one of my best friends. So there's no actual story about my call to Jake Seymour, but the fact that that was the person I called 10, 12 years later, you had the closest relationships you may ever have in this room right now. And you're never going to realize in the moment, and you're not going to stay in perfect touch with everybody. But that call to Jake Seymour, I hadn't talked to him in like nine months. And we picked up the phone and it was like no time is lost. So don't take that for granted. And again, saying this type of stuff, I remember people telling me this shit and I was like, yeah, whatever, dude, cool. You'll realize it later on, but it's really powerful, the type of stuff and the opportunity you have to build the bonds with everyone else in the room. So have fun with it, squeeze as much juice as you can out of it, and it'll take you a long way.
Awesome.
I'll
Thanks, Dylan. Go, Ryan, you're next.
awesome. Dylan, that was good. That was good stuff, man. I would just add a couple things when I reflect back, is, from an advice standpoint, is enjoy your years in college. And that's cliche, sounds simple, but I think when we all look back, is that these are the last years you have, right, to be able to play a sport that you love, that you've been doing almost your entire life. Enjoy it. Me personally, I probably got a little too caught up in not being able to be in the moment, which being in the moment of enjoying the travel, enjoying the camaraderie, enjoying the friendship, maybe being a little too caught up in, oh my gosh, I've got to study. Oh my gosh, I got to get these good grades. Because my superpower is the fact that I know when I walk in a room, I'm not the smartest person in the room. That was my superpower in college. I knew sitting in that classroom, I was not the smartest person in that room. What I knew was, and what I know today is, I'll work my ass off, and I'll outwork everybody in that room all day long. But that working too hard, unfortunately, I didn't get to enjoy my experience at WashU, meaning that be a sit back and really go and soak up the moment. So my advice would be enjoy it. For the seniors on the call right now, yes, it's not the senior year that you had dreamed of or what you wanted. I would tell you enjoy it. For the juniors and sophomores and freshmen, enjoy it, because you're going to look back at these 4 or maybe 5 years for some of you, and wish you enjoyed it just a little bit more, because after this, you're entering the real world, and it truly is the real world. And I'll hand it off to Kevin from here.
Yeah. Wow. Both Dylan and Ryan, very cool to be a part of this with both of you. Superpower. I've been taking a bunch of notes myself here, because I guess what I would say to each of you is always be learning, right? Always be learning. some of your classes might come easy to you. Go take anthropology. Go challenge yourself. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. As I stated earlier on this call, things probably have been relatively easy for most of you. Go challenge yourself. And as far as being a part of this program, Coach Pat, thank you for having me. Coach Dux and Wocott, we had some great assistant coaches in my years at WashU, some fabulous guys who were friends on and off the court. Some of you may have known Rick Larson. He was the trainer when I was there. He's obviously in a better place now, but these are the things that will mean more to you long after you're gone. The names, the relationships, and I owe it all to Coach, right? I mean, Coach fought with admissions to get me in, and then went down to the finance. Coach, you may have mortgaged something to get me the aid that you helped get me to get into WashU. So I'll forever be indebted, right? And we don't have to talk every day. Time can pass, but I always know that if I ever needed something, Coach helped me find my first apartment in Peoria, Illinois, his hometown. Those are the kind of things you guys will all take from being part of a program like this in an institution at WashU. So make friends and never forget them. Never forget where you came from. Thanks, Coach. I appreciate you having me on here.
Coach Edwards, I'm going to give you the final words.
You know what? I think I've given my advice already. I have one more piece of advice. Never get in a pickup game with somebody in combat boots.
Heard that once, heard it 1,000 times.
Guys, thanks a lot. Appreciate Dylan, Ryan, Kevin, Coach Edwards, you guys for sharing, and guys for your questions. Again, I'll make sure that contact information gets exchanged. Hopefully, again, this is, again, someone said the starting point. Kevin, you said the starting point. We're blessed. We have an amazing network of alums. You guys care so much. Coach Edwards, what you've cultivated here. And hopefully, again, tonight, we just got that 1% better that Dylan, you talked about with DoorDash there. So God bless, go Bears, and look forward to seeing guys. We'll see you in the gym tomorrow morning, and alums, look forward to seeing you guys really soon. Really appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
Hey,
y'all.
y'all.
Thank
Good luck, guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Notice you're still got shooter in your email address, so obviously that part is stuck.
This
Time we practice.
this
7:15.
is true. Well, the other thing is, if you notice, it's a Hotmail account, so that's how old that is. Yeah, it's interesting. Not only did that nickname stick, and that nickname is from college, my freshman year, and then it's carried on. I still have some people at work that call me Shooter, and they don't really even know why. But I love it. But unfortunately, I did to be careful, in our current time zone, anyone calling me Shooter and not getting the wrong idea there. So
Right. Yeah.
there's that. Hey, Coach, I got to tell you, this was